Hey, 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 good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. It's good to see you guys this morning. If you are just joining us, hopefully you're tuning in. We're going to continue on in our series. We are talking about John chapter 15, 1 through 11. I would encourage you to go read that. We are talking about abiding in Christ, and what better time to learn about an abiding relationship than right now. Um, the promises that we keep going back to in this section, and I would encourage you to read it, are that there is a fruitfulness that happens in this abiding. In other words, fruitfulness is this valuable contribution, this place of meaning and purpose, not only for yourself but for others, that happens in this place of abiding. And this place of abiding is a place in which we gain access to the power of prayer, where we're not simply trying to twist the arm of God from a distance, but we're invited into a relationship in which our hearts cry. It pierces the heart and the ears of God Himself, and our prayers are answered. It invites us into this place of joy. Jesus says it's His joy, and that place of fulfillment um, where true life really happens, in which, like I said, we're fulfilled and there's pleasure. This is true life. This is what life is. Life is not, this pursuing of our own idea of purpose and identity. Life is not simply trying to twist and manipulate the arm of God for our own picture of what the world should be. Life is not seeking our own happiness. It's all dead end stuff. Life is found in this abiding relationship with Jesus Christ. And so what we've been talking about is, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we do that? And the reason that we're hitting this so many times again and again and from so many different angles is because this abiding is something that requires practice. It's not something that we learn a knowledge of and that we just walk into, but it requires this daily walk of practice, just like learning to play a sport, like learning anything in life, any skill, even relationships themselves, relational skills, right? They're things you learn, and our spirituality is something that we learn as we walk with Christ. And so today, what I want to talk with you about as a part of our abiding study, I want to talk to you about rest. If you'll turn in Matthew's Gospel to chapter 11, the very end of the chapter, Matthew 11, 28, 29, and 30, Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This word rest in the Greek, the root word is pause, and the word itself means to relax. It's a place of stopping and resting. I think it was Dallas Willard who says, when I think about Jesus, I think about someone who was relaxed. Jesus wasn't high strung. He knew how to rest in the moment. And Jesus has promised us that in our labors and our burdens, that we're going to find rest in Him for our souls, that the deepest part of who we are will have this place of relaxing and comfort and pause. And so the question is, how do we step into that rest? How do we experience it? And this will probably take more than one day to get to. We'll just kind of scratch at it a little bit this morning. And again, these are things that we have to practice, but we're going to scratch at it this morning. I want to turn back to Genesis, the end of chapter 1 and the beginning of chapter 2. Genesis, the end of chapter 1, verse 31, God had created everything, right? And so God saw all that He had made, and behold, it was very good. And it says, and there was evening and there was morning on the sixth day. Chapter 2, thus the heavens and the earth were completed, and all their hosts. By the seventh day God completed His work which He had done, and He rested on the seventh day from all the work that He had done. And God blessed the seventh day, and He sanctified it, because He rested from all His work which He had created and He had made. Some of you may know this about me. I am not, nor never have been, a very good sleeper. I wish I was one of those people that could put my head on a pillow and fall asleep, but I'm just not. And one of the main things that keeps me up is my wheels not being able to turn my brain off. My wheels just turn. And by and large, not saying all the time, but by and large, it's always things that are yet awaiting, right? I get compulsive about projects or conversations I need to have or decisions that need to be made or events that are coming up, and I get wound up. Now, I said there's exceptions to that. We all have guilt, remorse, wish I wouldn't have, wonder what that's going to do. But I would say by and large for me, and I don't know how it is for you, but by and large for me, it's the future that keeps my mind from resting more than the past. And so I want you to see what God himself did here on the day of rest, right? On the very verge of humanity starting their story, which was not going to be a very clean story, right? But on the very verge of the unfolding of mankind starting their story, what did God do on day 6? He says he looked at all that he had done and said it was very good. And in looking back, God rested. See, God wasn't looking forward. He was looking back. He was looking at what was already accomplished. Rest comes to us. One of the ways that rest comes to us is observing by what's already been done, what's already been accomplished. And yet stress comes to us by observing everything that has to be done and has to be accomplished. And God himself stops and looks back and sees all that is done and finds rest. In times of high anxiety, one of the things that, we need to be practicing all the time, but one of the things that we need to do is we need to turn around and we need to look back. We need to look at the faithfulness of God backwards rather than question the faithfulness of God moving forward. If you've ever been on a long hike, one of the things that is exhausting is you get to a place where you can't really see the summit. They call it a false summit. And you get and you walk and you walk and you walk and you feel like you're never going to get there. And so you finally stop and take a break. And when you look down and you see how far you've come, after a few moments, suddenly you realize that you can go on. Because looking back gives you the ability to say, I've done this so far. God has been faithful thus far with me. Therefore, I know that I can continue on. And so before you stress out about God's faithfulness tomorrow, before you stress out about God's faithfulness next week, I want to encourage you today to look back and remember God's faithfulness yesterday and last week and beyond. So I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different today. I want to ask for a little bit of engagement, and we got these comment sections. It'll be on the YouTube channel or on Facebook. But I simply want you, with one another, church family, friends, 1 or 2 lines, encourage each other today. Post a clip, post something, a few sentences of how God has been faithful to you. For me, boy, the list goes on and on. The biggest one, a year and a half ago was when, not even that, a year and a half ago, the Lord led me through, cancer. I can think of when, how the Lord led me to meet my wife and start my family, how he led me to Lynchwood. There's so many times in which I can just look back and see all that God has already accomplished. And so please don't write something, too terribly long, but if you would just bless one another today by remembering God's faithfulness yesterday, I believe that will help us remember for God's faithfulness today and tomorrow. And so I'm going to do something a little bit different this morning. I'm not going to pray for you when I close. I'm going to sing you a song. And I argued with the Lord over it, but, the Lord generally wins those things. Feel free to sing along with me if you want to sing along, if you want to just listen. At this point, if you go, man, I'm out, we'll see you tomorrow. But I'll sing you a song and then we'll be done, all right? So, hopefully I can start on the right key. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changes not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. And summer and winter, springtime and harvest, the sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, they join with all nature in manifold witness unto thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Probably the best lyrics that any pen has ever written under heaven. A pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, for thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. For his blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand has provided. For great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto us. Great indeed. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.